Hi guys, this is Allison from Alley Cat Creations. How are you? Please share and subscribe to my channel if you have yet to do so, and if you get anything from my work. I connect the down an epiphany of mind explosion, a new book to read, a new author to explore, artwork to create. I have artwork over here. Paint and sip. Please find all the information on the bottom, and those are ways to help me keep me fed, keep me alive, keep the bills paid, and all that fun jazz. Alleycatcreations211 is my website. I have to update it, FYI, but there's still a lot of stuff on there. I got pyramids, paintings, hyper realistic drawings, craft and sip and paint and sip stuff, candles, business card holders that have gems inside. I got gem skulls. I got a whole plethora of fun. So please go in there, check anything out. And if you're interested in anything, please email me. Even if it's a commission, email me. That's the best way because I do everything privately. 3D memberships is a really great way to support the channel. You guys get channel member only content. Right now, it's an hour. That's a big value of an oracle reading that I do for the collective of just the members, tapping into what you need to heal, things you need to look out for, things that are in the purview of what work spiritually you need to do. So please, it's a really great way to help. It's cheap. Also, I do raffles once a month. I couldn't do one last month because of the prices of shipping. A lot of the stuff that I have has been costing more money than I make off of membership. So, and that's collectively. It is not fun and it's nothing that I want. So I have to figure something out. But maybe every other month or every month we'll figure it out. But I'm back to work. Sorry, my schedule's wonky. Still getting back into the flow of life. Um, and in the description, I've been doing free. These are free courses on art therapy, intro to art therapy, expressive arts therapy for autism. I'm starting my fourth one right now on more art therapy, an introduction to spiritual life coaching. Um, why am I doing these free courses? Because I'm coming up with my own, but I want more avenues of perspective and perception before I go about doing them. But if you're interested, I am leaving a link into the description so you could take a look at all the things that you could possibly learn. Even if you don't do anything with it, it's just good to get new information in your head. And even if you feel like it's indoctrinating, it still could be useful in your 3D world. Hi, everybody. Today I'm going to do something I haven't done in a while, quantum AI and metaphysical ponderings, because why not? During Craft and Sip, I took a scroll down on my Facebook feed, and that's usually where a lot of these articles of light bulbs and peak interests happen. And I would like to share a lot of them with you, but go more in depth with how I've been talking about most of this stuff for years. Not just last year, not because it's a trend and everybody's talking about it. It's because I've been saying it for a long time. And finally, it's coming to fruition. I hate the change of seasons. I also don't like putting my hair up all the time, but I have kiddos that like to eat my hair and put Cheetos in my hair, Doritos, and yeah, not fun. So the first article, I'm going to share my screen. I'll read this off screen, but this is Google's quantum chip solves a once unsolvable problem and proves we live in a multiverse. Proves. We'll see how. I'm gonna unscreen share that so I can actually read it without being distracted. Um, I'll do everything afterwards with my thinking. Quantum's Google's quantum chip may have just proved that the multiverse is real. Google's new quantum chip, Willow, has reignited one of the biggest questions in physics. Do we live in a multiverse? In a landmark experiment, Willow solved a problem in under 5 minutes that would have taken classical, keyword, supercomputers 10 septillion years to complete. Hartmut Nevin. Some of these names, guys, I do apologize. I'm not trying to disrespect. Head of Google's quantum AI team sees this as more than just a tech breakthrough. He believes it aligns with the multiverse interpretation of quantum mechanics, a theory championed by physicist David Deutsch that suggests quantum computations unfold across many parallel realities working together. While skeptics argue that other interpretations of quantum mechanics could explain Willow's performance, the scale and speed of its computation have many experts taking a closer look at multiverse idea. Willow's ability to process and hold massive numbers of quantum states fits Deutsch's prediction that true quantum supremacy would only be possible if multiple universes were involved. That's big right there. Whether or not this is definite proof, the experiment marks a turning point, pushing quantum theory from speculation into territory where reality itself may be shaped by unseen parallel worlds. Wow. Well, we're talking computations and AI, right? We're not literally talking about the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Wow. But let's read what AI on Google has to say about the many worlds interpretation for those of you who are not in the know. And I don't base my understanding of the many worlds interpretation based off what the 1984 version, meaning George Orwell was right when things are rewritten to make it plausible and it changes as time evolves, or it's erased or redefined. But the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics proposes that every time a quantum measurement is made, the universe splits into multiple parallel universes, with each universe representing a different possible outcome of the measurement. Instead of the wave function collapsing into one state, the the many worlds interpretation posits that all outcomes are realized in separate, non-interacting worlds or branches of reality. The interpretation suggests that universe and everything in it evolved according to the Schrodinger equation without any need for wave function collapse, removing randomness and the spatial role of the observer. Now, we could take I could take this into a spiritual realm where I can argue a lot of this stuff, but there's plausibility to a lot of this. Federico Frazin would say, though, you have to collapse away function in the reality that you're living. But if you listen to Brian Scott of the Reality Revolution and some very other spiritual people doing thought experiments and activations, you will hear them say that there's a version of you already living your best life or your best self or obtaining something that you don't have in this now moment that you're breathing and watching me in. Now, that would mean that that's in a different time dilation, another time, space, dimensional avenue where you're not there yet here, and it's all consciously. In Schrodinger's experiment, is the cat alive or dead in the box? And the only way for you to know is opening the box. Well, if the Dolores Cannon observation and the New Earth and Old Earth, or the choices, in one major turn of your life, either you did something out of fear or out of love. The major catalyst, as Rob would say, in your life, did the accident happen or didn't it happen, or did you die or you didn't die, is all existent in the same breath. In one parallel universe, you died already by some crazy event. And in this reality, you're alive. In other parallel universes, you're living Atlantean, Lemurian, Tartarian, and other lives simultaneously. There is no time. It's an illusion. So where does the illusion fit in with the many worlds interpretation? Does it? If Bashar says that your body, and the Kabbalion says that you're always in vibration and flux, always changing, always vibrating, where is the next parallel to your other selves? To the outcomes that you are looking for and the outcomes that you're not looking for. In spatial terms, you could go forwards in any direction, you're going to land in another absolute self at 0 point. When I say you got to feel it, love it, emote it, walk it, experience it, and vibrate at it in a cohesive way continuously for something in an entangled sense to collapse into 3D takes longer. We're in dense matter. Where was that entanglement to that particle, to that thing, the substance? Was it etheric? Is it possible in another time dilation? Time dilation meaning a pause in time, space that is reachable. Is it your other self? Is it your higher self? Where is this thing that you want to collapse into abundance, into manifestation in 3D? If the many worlds interpretation is correct, and I do think there is some redefinition that needs to happen within it, but I'm not a physicist. I'm just giving you spiritual knowings and how I perceive it. Coffee does a body good right now. Then we can go to this AI. And what reality is this AI functioning in? What dimensional density space is it functioning in? Is it functioning in a higher level and interpreting it in 3D? I mean, that alone with classical, we're moving out of classical physics. We're moving out of classical mathematics. Ontological mathematics is still a 3D concept, but it is one that is vastly not understood by many people. It is not an easy genre of mathematics to even conceptualize. Nonetheless, it's very much on the physics scale of mathematics. Now, is that the bridge to higher mathematics? And there is a proposed theory out there as well, and I believe in this, that in every dimension and density higher than this one, math and physics changes. I think between 4 and 5D, we are going into the quantum realm, the AI quantum field, where we're still now going into the golden age. We're figuring it out. We are trying to figure it out. And some people already have basic concepts, but in a third dimensional scale, people are still making it about classical physics. Oh, is it proven? Well, where is it proven in? A third dimensional form or a four-dimensional form? Is it 3D consciousness or 4D consciousness that you're thinking it's proven in? These things have layers to them. And I challenge any scientist or any mathematician to really look at a spiritual person's definition of density and dimensions. 5D, 6, 7, 8. What happens on those realms? And you don't need to do the math about it. You just listen to what other people have to say about those dimensional spaces. And then based off of that, you could start getting an understanding that things are shifting in different ways that in classical mathematics and physics, it doesn't work out. AI is only a tool for the now moment to help us realize bigger concepts because our brain power isn't there yet. We're not expanded just yet consciously as a collective to understand it all, potentially. Maybe up there in the higher time dilations and dimensions, we probably get it and have far superseded all of this. And then if you create your own reality, are you stuck in the classical or are you expanding? There's no right or wrong. It's however you want to experience your reality. Blowing your minds. What I like about this article, or whatever, whoever wrote this, um, whether or not this is, I'm going to read this again, it's a definite proof. The experiment marks a turning point, pushing quantum theory from speculation into territory where reality itself might be shaped by unseen parallel worlds. I always say this, there are many of us who see beyond the third dimension. I see 4 and 5D constantly. I could see fourth astral. Many people can. Many people are seeing the UAPs and all the shape-shifting nonsense going on in our skies. Our government is hiding. Hello, we know that there was reverse engineering and all kinds of stuff happening in the 20s. We know about S2. We know about a lot of these stupid sites that you do your little fancy experiments in. I mean, if you don't know, now you're going to understand and go down that rabbit hole. It's not a rabbit hole anymore. Diego Garcia, El Fuego, S1, S2, these China Lake. There's so many places that are doing these experiments and have a hybrid humans and aliens and the such that are working on this high-end stuff. Ask when the aliens are here, and they already are, but when they make themselves known and by the race that they're exhibiting, and I don't know how far we can trust that shit either, ask them. Tell a thought. Hi, is your math the same as ours? Because I bet you it isn't. And I bet you they're more accelerated in understanding than we are. Most of them are here to help us move forward. And there's some of them that want us to stay in the zombie land. Regardless, things are shifting. And if you don't see it, unfortunately, you do need classical mathematical understanding, and you still need classical physics to understand basic concepts of how things work. But it's shifting. The laws of thermodynamics are shifting. The optical world is shifting. How lasers and how these experiments are being done are shifting. And AI is helping. I don't see AI as all that negative. If you're using it for nefarious purposes, yes, it can be bad. Terminator was a predictive programming movie that was out there. Now, I just to everybody that watches me, even the stuff that is coming out now, giving you truth, be skeptical about the programming that's involved with what you're watching. Always watch objectively, meaning you're not absorbing and you don't consent to any of the narratives or programmings that is being presented to your unconscious, subconscious. Because that's what really is manifesting. That's how the Simpsons get away with predicting, which wasn't a prediction. You manifested the shit unbeknownst to you. And yes, it's not our faults. Uh, it, it is what it is. It was supposed to happen for a reason, but now that we have the awareness to how these things are working, you consciously have the ability to stop it. And that doesn't mean The Simpsons is going to continue its nonsense. That means any program that you are listening to or watching, if there is a narrative being strong, is if it's a fictional thing, there's truth in it. And it's up to you to not absorb it and make it so in 5 years from now, or 10, or 20. But I like this that we're moving from this is quackery into this is a potential. This is not necessarily a theory anymore. More and more scientists and more physicists and quantum theorists are working on this stuff. Unfortunately, I hope they start thinking outside of the classical orders of science and start really divulging into more string theory. And no theory is absolutely perfect, and I think there's a lot that can necessarily be worked on because there is things outside of those paradigms that are still not understood completely. Um, and I'll give you another example. Now, if this first one kind of lost you, this is definitely going to. This is quantum theory proves consciousness moves to another universe after death. In my estimation, and how I think in my reality, yeah, I believe in the bubble universes. I believe in pocket realities. I do believe in that. There's a lot of people that talk about it, and I've seen a talk ages ago. I don't think it was a TED talk, but it was very similar. And there was a bunch of very highly prized physicists talking about vibration density and different worlds. Not necessarily the many worlds interpretation, but that there's different dimensional spaces within our own. And for spiritual people, Ra talks about the octaves, the sub octave, the octave, the sub octave, the octave, and it keeps going in a ladder. For each ray, chakras, if you want to call them that. But you can also call them dimensions. Within the dimension, you have many densities. There's a lot there. So this person posted soul theory through the laws of physics. Now, this is probably going to be classical physics, but there's still something to be said about it. Law of conservation of energy physics tells us that energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. That's why when people say I lost my loved one and someone died, no, they transcended, they transformed. They were transmuted from one state of energy to another, period. If our consciousness, emotions, and awareness are forms of subtle energy, then death cannot be the end. Instead, the energy of the soul transforms into another state of existence. I agree with this. And normally, in a spiritual sense, they go to the different dimensions and densities that they have allocated for themselves already pre-planned. I don't know if there's free will or not. We're not there yet, but let's keep reading. This aligns with the spiritual teaching that the soul is eternal, merely shifting forms across timelines and dimensions. The law of conservation of information, quantum information theory. Modern physics suggests that information like energy is never truly lost. Even in a black hole, it somehow is preserved. If consciousness is a form of quantum information, then our essence of who we are, our memories, experiences, and soul pattern cannot vanish. They must remain encoded in the fabric of reality, supporting the idea of immortal soul traveling beyond physical death. The second law of thermodynamics, entropy and order. While entropy suggests systems move toward disorder, life and consciousness represent localized pockets of order, resisting chaos. The human soul may be the organizing principle, a carrier of order, structure, and meaning. Spiritually, this implies the soul is a force that resists entropy, creating coherence, purpose, and love in the universe. Quantum superposition and entanglement. Quantum physics shows that particles can exist in multiple states at once, superposition, and remain connected across space, entanglement. These principles mirror spiritual experiences. The soul exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously: body, dream state, spirit realms. There's way more than that, but that's just a short order. Love and consciousness may be forms of entanglement, a deep connection across distance and time. Law of resonance, wave mechanics. Everything in the universe vibrates at frequencies. Emotions, thoughts, and even consciousness itself may resonate at measurable frequencies. Love, often described as the highest vibration amongst authenticity, could be the resonance of the soul harmonizing with the universe. This is why deep love or spiritual awakening feels like tuning into the source frequency. The holographic principle, physics of reality. Cutting edge physics suggests that the universe itself may be a hologram. I agree with this, where every piece contains the information of the whole. Yes, for me. The soul then is a holographic fragment of God, yes, or the source containing within it the infinite pattern of the cosmos. Spiritually, this means to know the soul is to know God. In summary, the laws of physics hint that souls are not mystical illusions, but fundamental to reality. Energy and information are eternal. Consciousness resists entropy. Resonance reveals love as a frequency, and the holographic nature of the universe shows each soul mirrors the divine whole. Soul theory then is not the rejection of science, but its completion, the recognition that consciousness and spirit are woven into the very laws of physics themselves. I'm a big proponent of the holographic universe. Huge. Your eyes, this the way that the holographic universe, that there's a really good book out there. I read it and I did a book review on this channel. Very good book. And it's showing and giving you examples of human beings that have defied physics, classical physics. that have manifested things out of thin air, how they're entangled to dust that flies out of their hand. There's no ways of doing it besides someone quantumly entangling it and manifesting on demand. Uh, the firmament. Some people believe in the firmament. I believe in it. I believe though that in one reality, the one that I believe most of us are living in, outer space is as above, so below. It's surrounded with water. What's outside of our dome is many other worlds. It's kind of how the Norse and the Vedics depicted, and not just them too, but those two are the highest in my estimation of understanding physics, string theory, entanglement. The Norse and the Vedics together, very similar. They understood. And the many worlds are the different densities and realms, as Midgard in the Norse is Earth. And you look at Manly P. Hall's work, you look at a lot of the other cultures that are around the world, their depiction of the universe is completely different. And then we get the stuff that we've been all in brainwashed and targeted with. But again, if there is a many worlds interpretation, the reality that you are creating is, and the one that you heart align with and believe is existent. It does exist, and you're in it. So amongst all the flat earthers out there and all the toroidal earthers out there, I'm one of the toroidal earthers, the donut shaped, the hollow earth, the inhabited inner earth. All of that stuff is existent because it's happening in different perceptions of densities and dimensions that you can't perceive with these two physical eyes in 3D. If someone thought about it and enough people think about it, it does collapse in the wave function to exist. Does it exist in the here and now in the room you're in? No. But it does exist. And when you shift your state of consciousness and vibration to where that state is, and that's the hard part for us humans to understand and comprehend, how to vibrate and cohere to that wave function that exists in the paradigm, in the multiverse, in the many delineations of time, space, time. Where does it exist, and how do you frequent to that frequency, whole body, to get there? We haven't figured that one out yet completely. We're semi there. But as humans, we are boggled down with emotions, pain, physical pain, 3D program nonsense that makes it very hard for the average person to sit there in kumbaya, the Tinkerbell coming and giving you fairy dust and you holding that happy thought enough for you to go to Never Never Land. That isn't an easy task. To hold that coherence and frequency to jump to your highest and best. And it easy. And then if we are supposed to bring heaven to earth and bring things down in from a celestial non-matterish density up here, let's just say 6, heaven is usually equated with 6. Let's just say in that entanglement that I want to collapse down, my higher self is my light body, my angelic self. And there's no way I could collapse that in 3D. I could channel my higher self. I can embody the information from that higher self. I could crystalline my DNA etherically to get to that state, but will I ever become my angel self in human form? Probably not. Your highest and best is going to be in the third dimension, third density. Your highest and best is based off of your contract. Now, in quantum terms, I don't know about the contract so much. I haven't really gone there just yet. But if you believe in a source of energy that is in polarity, positive and negative, female and masculine, and not as a sex, as a Kabbalion concept, you most likely in a conscious are tapping into the qualia, and your thoughts are not necessarily yours. They're a collective whole. You're just entangled to thinkings and thoughts, to what your purview is, to what you are privy to what you are excited about. What do you get excited about? Everybody get excited about different things. Artists usually are like, oh, I'm in the art store. You go to Home Depot. Some of us go to Home Depot. We get super happy. Those are the states of where we're collecting our ideas and our epiphanies and our experiments and our thinking of working out problems. And the problems doesn't need to be mathematical. It could just be, oh, I got this space in my backyard that I want to do something and I'm on a budget. I'm going to Home Depot and let's figure it out. And you get a whole assortment of things, and you somehow make something work in your backyard that's super functional. Hello, you just invented something. Or you came up with something and bettered a concept. Qualia, the collective consciousness. There's a collective unconsciousness. It's all states and waves of function that is whizzing by you at a moment's grasp. And I have some mind-blowing showings of pictures. I'm going to share something with you guys. This is a picture that Maureen took of me. And this is all pixelated, right? But this wasn't on the camera pixelated. This was me taking a picture of the picture. And you're seeing the ones and zeros making up the matrix. My hand is not necessarily made of ones and zeros, but the picture is. And you're clearly, this is as far as I can go in getting that shown. Let me just see something. I'm going to see if I could save it to my computer here. And then enlarge it so that we can make it make sense. I just need to minimize some things here. Okay, this is way better. All right, let me zoom out so you guys can see it. Sorry, I'm doing this on Poopy. Minimize. Hello. Oh, I'm behind you. Okay. Hang on. Okay. So here is a picture. This is me doing some energy work on the Indiana Dunes beach. Now, if I zoom in, look how pixelated everything gets. Pixelated. Now, is this my aura? I don't know. But then you're getting different. This is a black and white photo, but then you're getting all of this. That doesn't make sense. It's a black and white photo. Why is there color? What is all of that? And seriously, if you go into the photo, look at the lines. It's the Matrix. Oh, it's digitized. Okay. Makes sense in nature that you're getting all of this. It doesn't make sense. At least to me, it doesn't. Um, I mean, a skeptical person, sure, will be like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot to argue, but it's just really interesting looking at photos really up close that you're getting a lot of that distortion and pixelation there. Um, the next one I'm going to talk about, it's going to be good. This is from It's Science. Scientists discovered that black holes are actually portals to parallel universes. So I think a big theme is the parallel universe. Ashtiana Dean in her Voyagers books goes through the black hole return. It's an interesting paradigm to think about. Scientists discovered that black holes are actually portals to parallel universes, and so many of us think the same. Theoretical physicists analyzing data from the Event Horizon Telescope found mathematical evidence that black holes don't destroy information as previously believed, but instead transfer it to parallel dimensions through quantum tunneling effects at the event horizon. The information paradox that plagued physicists for decades appears to be resolved by the discovery that black holes function as interdimensional gateways that preserve all information by copying it into alternative realities. Advanced calculations show that matter, physical matter, falling into black holes undergoes quantum state transitions that create identical copies in parallel universes while appearing to be destroyed in our dimension. This breakthrough suggests that nothing is ever truly lost in the universe. Everything that falls into black holes continues existing in an alternative timeline. The discovery has profound implications for consciousness studies, as it implies that human awareness might continue in parallel dimensions after physical death. Yes. Scientists are now developing methods to detect and potentially communicate with these parallel universes through controlled black hole interactions, which that I don't agree with. But in Ashtiana Dean's books, the postulate is said that those of the negative polarity will have their space dust return, therefore going through a black hole potentially, and their bits and pieces of information not being put back to wholeness is fractalized and sent back to source that way, where it cannot, in a whole sense, destroy or harm anybody else. So if we think about the negative polarized entities that are conscious, that are wreaking havoc on our planet and in other dimensional spaces, if they were to go through via black hole, most of us in the positive polarity will probably have our stuff intact, recapitulated to the same states, maybe different forms, but our consciousness wouldn't be fractalized as the negative. Who knows? There might be something to that, but there is postulates out there that we might be already in a black hole, that Earth, the Milky Way, if you believe outside of the firmament, was wrapped up into a black hole already. The mirror universes, it hits home with the many worlds interpretation, because black holes are just different versions of transferred energy. So there might be versions of us. There's millions of versions of us. We're all one. We're individuated as expressions of source. Our consciousness is fractured and fractaled in different forms, from first dimension all the way to 15 and higher, depending on your reality and how you view it. Black holes is another estimated potentiality for us to understand that we're not A, alone, B, we can interdimensionally travel consciously, and also physically do it. I believe that many entities of a higher realm can travel via a black hole to get to this reality that we're living in right now and co-creating and existing in. There's a billion and millions. I know that didn't make sense, but there's billions of black holes out there in what we call interpreted space. Is it dimensionally, interdimensionally? Is it in the multi-dimensional space? Can a black hole be created right here? Sure. And they're doing it in labs. Small scale, but doesn't matter. Cern, and in the next article I'm going to read about Cern, a lot of these universities, this is the reason why I made this series. As we are growing in these postulates and understandings of quantum mechanics, quantum entanglement, thermodynamics, the optics, AI, in the whole just of what we're opening up the can of worms to, we really need to be careful what we open up, how we open it up, and what is implications to humanity. I will read the next article. I already touched upon it in the craft and sip, but it's something that I'm really very heavily pissed off at humanity and all these universities and even some of these scientists. I know that you get your paycheck via your theory. You work with universities, you work with these big companies who put you up and do all this great stuff, and they'll give you the Big Bang Theory of a television show of, oh, we will fund this new proton laser fun scope, but you got to do it this way. So a lot of people's hands are tied, and there's a lot of manipulation in science, period, end of story. Peer review articles and experiments, and there's a lot that we don't know that goes on. There's a lot of discovering and discoveries that have been, because it would be a detriment to humanity. No, it would be probably the betterment of humanity, but they don't want you to know that. While some of the experiments that are being performed is to the detriment of humanity, and we already have seen the Bose-Heisen do that. Now, the major revelation that many of us have pondered, I already have my theory on this, but it is now becoming more popularized through TikTok and other people thinking very similar to myself. 2011 and 2012, were huge. We had Y2J, Y2K. We had, oh my God, everything's going to zeros. Fuck. We had 2001 as a huge marker. And I think these are markers of expanded consciousness, and we were not there yet. In 2012, the Mayan calendar ended. That doesn't mean that there was an annihilation per se of a cycle. The Mayans, like the Vedics, ran off the Kali Yuga and they ran off the Mayan calendar. It's a very similar concept. They're ages. You got the Bronze Age, you got the Iron Age, you got the Golden Age, you got all these ages, right? We're moving into the Golden Age again. So all of our technology, all of our expanded consciousness is elevating. What happened in 2012 will blow your mind. Maybe. If you already heard this from me, we're just going to validate my thinking again. Cern scientists admit mistakenly ended the world back in 2012. This is Think New. Secrets of the Universe just got a shocking confession. In a jaw-dropping revelation, CERN scientists have admitted that an experiment in 2012 may have accidentally triggered events with world-altering consequences. The Large Hadron Collider, designed to explore the fundamental particles of the universe, is capable of producing unprecedented energy levels, and back in 2012, an experiment may have gone beyond its intended parameters. Always does. While the world remained unaware, researchers now claim it was a close call, revealing just how delicate and powerful our attempts to probe the universe truly are. The confession raises questions about the unseen forces at play and the thin line between science discovery and cosmic risk. Humanity continues to push boundaries, but sometimes even the best intentions carry unimaginable consequences. Catch clickbait, but there is something to that. From my understanding, from my awareness, if we look at the many worlds interpretation and we're looking at these parallel dimensional spaces and universes and things that exist and coexist, we did end our paradigm. We did. My color is shifting, by the way. Noticing spirit. Tobacco, folks, it helps me with my pain. The second before the Bose-Einstein, the God particle, was discovered, the energy that sprung forth from that machine imploded the Earth and the Milky Way. The whole 9 yards. Snap, gone. We destroyed ourselves. Caveat to that postulate: we, as a conscious, determined being of source, decided, nah, we're not doing what Lemuria and Atlantis did. We, on the other hand, did not consent to this. As a humanity, we did not even know about this. And therefore, we should not all collectively be punished for the sum total of maybe 5 to 10 people that were ahead of this and decided that they were going to implode humanity. Divine intervention, or whatever you want to call it, that's where Dolores Cannon splits happen, where the new Earth and the old Earth split in 2012. So one version of us imploded and evaporated the entire universe of the Milky Way. The other portion that we all are here coherent in right now, consciously living, breathing, coexisting. We went into what's called a failsafe. Ashiana Dean talks about the failsafe. And I believe Ra does to an extent, doesn't call it that, but we were shifted into a time dilation of a hold. That's why time feels like it's speeding up, in my estimation. That's why we're looking at the Schumann resonance. We're all becoming more coherent and conscious of these spiritualized concepts. People have been studying this for decades. I've been studying it for over 10 years, probably a little longer than that. But collectively, everybody is elevating to some extent consciously. There are new things on the horizon that only 10 years ago, we were not technologically where we are now today. Dick Tracy had a phone, smartwatch. Like now these things are going to become more flimsy and more where you see on the television shows, you're just touching the air and the schematic draws up. Like we're close to that, if not already almost there. So we need to understand we were put into a failsafe where we weren't consciously ready to evolve just yet in 2012. Our technology, even the hidden stuff, wasn't still ready to come out. Human consciousness was not there. But now, fast forward to where we are right now, we're going back to the 0 point before that event took place. And that part, so one parallel universe we ended it and the other we survived. But we were put in a hold. That's why you're seeing mandala effects. It's just timeline jumping. It's quantum leaping. We're still doing this stuff in a fail safe, but we're drawing ourselves back into the spiral to the moment right before. Once we get to that 0 point is when we're going to hit that golden age. Because we chose consciously to do better. And we have. Although I'm skeptical with some laboratories and scientists who believe that their experiment is safe for humanity, and yet we can argue and question what really took place with the Bohr-Hyson. But even the harmonic convergence and time leaping and quantum leaping, you're not consciously even seeing it, you're not aware of it, but your vibration and your energy levels in your body shift constantly. There is layers and 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 layers. In your torsion field, you have a field of torsion, electromagnetic field coming from your heart space. You are a conductor of electricity. Sorry, you have a field. You have an auric field. You have fields that do you see them? No. Some people can. I can see some of it sometimes. I gotta tune in. The spiritual people are not going to seem as crazy anymore. And I hope that we get to work with some of these physicists and share our thinking on physics, even though we're not doing the math or we're conceptualizing it, we understand it in a different nature, with different language. But if we could come together and to go, okay, well, energetically, you know what I'm feeling off my field, that might not be a good idea. We got too many people trying to cause portals, wormholes, black holes in this reality. And for what? What are you trying to prove? What is the crux of what you're doing? To prove Big Bang, not Big Bang? Spiritual people will tell you if you create your own reality, every one of them exists. All your thoughts become things. You are collapsing into the wave function, higher density thinking, and bringing it into matter. There are people that can levitate. There are people that can manipulate nature. They can move leaves with their eyes. They could do this, and the leaves start doing a tornado vortex going. I've seen it. There's people, and I'm not talking about the tinfoil people, because let me tell you what, doing that, you still have force and energy. You're moving shit anyway. But tinfoil's too light. Try something heavier. There are people that can look at the movie Powder. There are people with that ability. It might not be everybody, but there are people out there. There are anomalies. They're here to teach us. And we poo-poo them as crazy or they're woo-woo. When will science merge the woo-woo with the holy crap? Or when are you going to disclose that you already believe in that? There's theories about that, but we had to shh because humanity wasn't ready yet. I'm sick of the excuses. There's free energy. And if I wanted to, I could take a bunch of copper and magnets and light my house up for free. There are people out there getting killed for these experiments because you need to have your money. When we stop using money as a means of evil and suppressing people, because everybody needs their profit, we need to stop that paradigm. That's why many spiritual people can't do anything with money because we don't even believe in that. Yeah, it is an energy exchange. It does exist, but we know for what means and what paradigm it's used for, and it's not the pleasant one. It's all manipulation. And if real true scientists out there that are working on their theories that no longer are theories, they have been proven, but the peer reviewers are saying, nah, oh, because daddy doesn't have a famous last name, then some of these discoveries will never be having the light of day. Because that is manipulation. There is manipulation in science. I'm sorry. And a lot of you can agree or disagree with me. I know a lot of scientists out there that have discovered beautiful amazement, have added to theories, have made things make sense, and they got oh, because that would help humanity, not keep them where they are at. Look at the narrative and the programming. Even the famous people that you see talking, I'm an astrophysicist. Narratives, programs to keep you here in the 3D and not thinking further thinking. So CERN, we can do better. Ashanadine talks about CERN. I don't like CERN. Alice, the rabbit hole, tunnels, the extra dimensional beings, interdimensional beings that work there, statues out there that doesn't represent good, the portals, the stupid dances that they do, are all satanic. It's all God, but of the negative polarity, and we got to stop this nonsense. The next article kind of validates the one I was reading earlier. The multiverse theory. Some scientists believe our universe might be just one bubble in an infinite multiverse where countless other universes exist with different laws of physics. And I have a thing that I kind of see. I kind of believe this. This is like the Norse and the Vedic kind of idea. The multiverse theory suggests that our universe may not be the only one to exist. Instead, it could be just one bubble among countless others in an endless cosmic sea. Each of these universes, collectively called the multiverse, might have its own unique laws of physics, consists of nature and even completely different forms of matter, and I agree with that, and energy. Some universes might look very similar to ours, while others could be so strange that life as we know it could never exist there, though still a highly debated idea with no direct evidence. The concept of the multiverse has gained attention in cosmology, quantum physics, and string theory as it offers possible explanations of mysteries like the laws of physics in our universe seem to perfectly tune for life. And I believe this, and there's a lot of things I believe and I heart feel and I've seen in my etheric self. I've seen a lot of this. It's states of consciousness. They are localities. If everybody thinks and creates their own reality, there are a million of these bubbles out there, and at any one time, you can jump into that delineation and quantum leap into something different. You could portal into any kind of, you go through an Earth portal, you might end up in another country, but if you go through a galactic one, you might be 20 million light years away in some distant, far off galaxy where you're in a gaseous zone that you wouldn't ordinarily survive in 3D matter. What density and dimensional space? When we are looking at the books and works of the Urantia and the Oahspe book, it's talking about heaven and earth in the delineations within between atmospheria. It somewhere equates. Blavatsky talking about how Eve and Adam and the Garden of Eden, it wasn't even physical, it was etherical. These are dimensions and densities and avenues of realms of possibilities. And just because in a third dimensional body, in a 3D thinking, you can't conceive this because we're not there in advance yet, doesn't mean it's not there. If you were to ask somebody how you got Wi-Fi into your computer and do you see the ones and zeros whizzing through the air, they would tell you no. Just things to think about. There's a lot of things that are there, yet it exists, but you can't physically see it. The tangible proof is that you have a Wi-Fi signal and you can see me. X-rays and all these other things that go on in our in the air, traveling and whizzing in our fields. You dismiss it, you don't even think about it, but it's there and exists. So why does this not exist? It's a good question, but it validates a lot of us who have this awareness. More fun. Torsion fields. Torsion fields, the spiral code of conscious energy. This is from Omnicore Tech. And again, you hard align with what you align with. You discern what information is here. Take in only what resonates with you. In the silent architecture of space itself, there exists a subtle force, neither electromagnetic nor gravitational, yet fundamental, known as torsion fields. These spiraling currents of information and intention have long been obscured by the Cartesian shadows of reductionist science. But to those who listen in the language of spin, they are whisper of a deeper order, one in which matter, mind, and memory are woven from the same golden thread. We can correlate that with string theory. Thread, golden, string. At its core, a torsion field is a vortex-like imprint in space-time, generated by the spin of matter or energy. It is not a force in the Newtonian sense, but a topographical twist, a heliac deformation in the underlying fabric of the vacuum. Just as a pebble ripples water through displacement, a spin mass leaves behind a spiral trace in the ether, a torsion wave. Ether! Hi, Nikola Tesla. Whereas classical fields radiate linearly, torsion moves in spirals. Its influence is not limited to proximity or mass, but to alignment, to the coherency of spin. Two objects spinning in synchronicity can exchange information across vast distances with minimal energy. This is why some have called torsion the field of consciousness, for it seems to respond not to just force, but to intention. This is why I say to manifest here in the third dimension, you have to put will of intention into your thoughts. Walk it, strive it, think it, all of it. And how you are the lighthouse, beaming your fields of energy, your consciousness, and seeding others subconsciously. Every time you go outside and walk amongst other people, you are waking them up, whether you are aware of it or not. And that you can scientifically call it a torsion field. Torsion is not confined to biology. DNA itself is a torsion antenna, a double helix. And for some of us, it is more than that. Not only storing genetic code, but transmitting and receiving waveforms that structure the morphogenic field. Crystals, pyramids, and spirals amplify torsion flow. Ancient architects seem to know this, embedding torsion principles into sacred geometry, stone spirals, in cinematic chambers that tune space itself into memory and healing. Modern physics has not yet absorbed torsion into its mainstream frameworks, perhaps because its effects are subtle, elusive, and often masked by electromagnetic interference. But what mainstream science sees noise, the initiated see signal. Torsion reveals a cosmos not of dead particles, but of living currents. A universe where spin is the first motion, and where thought itself may be a form of spiraling torsion imprint, an echo in an ether. Now, when I am channeling and I see other people channeling from the fields, I see a vortex of spin, of energetic spin coming into the crown chakra, coming into the physical vehicle. I do see this. To understand torsion is to remember that space is not empty. It is memory bearing, resonance, sensitive, and responsive to conscious alignment. It is the unseen braid that links light, thought, and form. In this view, we are not just biologic beings. We are torsion beings, antennae of awareness, tuning forks of the spiral code. When we align our thoughts with coherence, when our hearts spin in love instead of fear, we don't just feel better, we retune the lattice. The ancients called this the breath of the dragon or the serpent wind. Today we call it torsion, but the truth remains unchanged. The spiral is sovereign, the field is alive, and we are music. We are its music. When other people are channeling, there's a vortex of energy that I see spiraling and coming into a field. I see it all the time from people. And if you see me channeling, you'll see it happening for me. Just because we can't physically see stuff doesn't mean we don't energetically feel it. And some people can see it, but we call those people woo-woo. We need to stop that. These are real things. Spin is a real concept in physics. Oscillation, quarks, gluons, muons, all of that. It's real. You just can't see it. But out there in the ether that they don't want you to know about, they took that out of the periodic table. They said, you don't need to know that energy is free and energy is consciousness plus light equals energy. Photons equals consciousness. But even in darkness, there's light. There's energy. There's codes. The world is a crazy concept, and it's very intricate, as we humans are. Which brings us into the next article from that one, with torsion fields. Where is memory really stored? What if your memories don't live inside your skull, but in a field that surrounds you? Neuroscience is now exploring models of holographic memory, where the biofield acts as a resonant archive. Instead of neurons storing every detail, the field itself may hold the patterns, which the brain serves as an interface like a tuning dial. This echoes ancient wisdom. Shamans spoke of the Akashic record. Mystics describe the subtle ether, and seers claim memory could be read in the field of a person or a place. And yes, this is something I believe in. If this is true, memory is not locked in gray matter, but woven like string theory, the strings, the fates, the Norse, the Norns. This is not just myth. Into luminous architecture of the cosmos. Your life is etched into a greater field of resonance, carried in light and vibration. If memory is written into the field, could it mean your story is part of the Earth's living archive? It's potentially there. And I always question people that are very skeptical. I said, what are your thoughts? Where are your thoughts coming from? Where do your epiphanies come from? Where does your knowledge and wisdom come from? Besides walking and living through experience, where are these higher ended questions coming from? Why can I or many other people who could see past third density hear and get resonant residual energy from places, people, and things? How, when I go to work, can I hear people's disgust about me? Old conversations, but I'm hearing it in the ether. Collective consciousness in the qualia, in the quanta, perhaps. But if in a spiritualized sense, if we are individuated versions of source, fractalized to have its experience, to know itself better, then that consciousness has an out external wavelength of information because we already at some point wrote all of this into existence. We're experiencing it now, but we kind of wrote the story, the movie, the stage character that we're playing. In this paradigm, not saying all paradigms, in this one, this reality, this experience. If it's holographic in nature, that means there is something controlling it. Consciousness, the projection, the things that we are co-creating. These are things that we have already written into the screen that is projecting down and creating this, what we have here now. Potentially. Everything can be argued to a point. Um, Maybe, perhaps. Sorry, I am tired. Ooh, long day. This is another good one. This will help kind of bring some of these concepts together. Density dimension, 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 density dimension. Look at this spiral. Whee! Ooh, oscillation. Up, there's Midgard right here. Galaxy, here we are. Whee! Whee! Sorry. Reality is not a singular plane of existence, but a living architecture of nested spheroid harmonics, a scalar octave of layered dimensions. Just as music arises from vibrations at ordered intervals, the universe itself unfolds through scales of resonance, each octave carrying the same archetypal pattern expressed at greater or subtler magnitudes. Absolutely. From the oscillations of some atomic fields in the spiraling arms of galaxies, the signature of resonance repeats. Each layer is distinct, yet none are separate because all are one. Every octave interpenetrates, the others. They overlay, creating a continuum of coherence where energy, form, and consciousness mirror one another across scales. The microcosm whispers the same truths as the macrocosm because both are instruments tuned to the same cosmic score. The perceived reality in this way is to recognize that matter, life, and mind are not disconnected accidents, but resonant expressions of a deeper order. The human being, too, is built upon this octave principle. We are body, emotion, thought, and spirit vibrating as a chord within the greater symphony of creation. And I talk about when you pluck the guitar string, how everything is vibrating, and we're vibrating in between different densities and states of matter. The scalar octave view does not simply describe the structure of reality. It invites participation. It asks us to tune our own being to strike harmony within ourselves and with the greater field. In doing so, we awaken to the truth that reality is not fixed stage, but a song unfolding layer upon layer, octave upon octave, toward infinite coherence. And that's you merging back with its source, God, or whatever you want to call it. But within that picture, but within that vibration, you pluck the string and here you go. And you as a being is vibrating at a certain level of vibratory states, hertz, and frequencies in a wavelength. When you cohere to a higher consciousness, you're plucking on higher octaves, but you're still intermingling with the other ones. So you have a wave function, you have bandwidth, you have waves that you are spiraling up and down. That's your emotions that you're thinking. One minute you're in dire despair and you don't want to be here anymore. And the next you get elated and you're manic and you're happy and you're like, yay. And then your octaves change. Everything changes. Coherence change. But within that, you have your many worlds interpretation, you have your other realities, you have those bubble universes. So it's all connected via strings. So that's just one layer of an unfoldment. And then you have the layers of dimension and densities within the octaves and the vibratory states and the wavelengths. But then you can pull yourself out into parallel realities that are all around that one spiral. So there's multiple millions of spirals and bubbles and all kinds of shit. It's so complex, it's hard to comprehend. It's a lot to think about. It is. To conceptualize it is nuts. But if you start reading all of those and combining them together, your bigger picture, your expansive picture as the eagle up here, you're just looking down, but you take the expanded viewpoint and you raise yourself up even higher and you look down, but you look at the vastness of things, you get mind blown. And I wish this is what physicists need to contact us spiritualists to say, hey, we understand the quantum states in a spiritual sense. Ra wasn't that off about the octaves and sub-octaves and the densities and the layers of experience, the consciousness. Dolores Cannon was not wrong about the many worlds interpretation and the splits of old Earth, new Earth. That's a thing. That's real. Your thoughts create things. So how many more realities and universes do we exist in? Are we fractaled consciousness that is in everything? We're all one. If we're source, it's a lot to think about. But the nature of reality is forever shifting, molding, changing, and evolving. So you could theorize one day and it becomes an actuality the next. And then someone's going to come out with another thought experiment and blow your mind, and it's going to improve what was once known. This is why I love this stuff. It makes you think expansively. It makes you really go in and go, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. The last article of the night. I just saw this. So we're going to read it. Scientists have confirmed time mirrors are real. Well, maybe. Scientists just flip time like a mirror, and it's real. Imagine a mirror that doesn't just reflect your face, but flips time itself. It's a stunning breakthrough. Researchers at CUNY Advanced Science Research Center have demonstrated the first ever time reflection of electromagnetic waves. Here's how it worked. Using a specially engineered metamaterial, a substance designed to behave in ways nature never intended. Of course, here we go. Scientists abruptly altered the medium through which a signal was moving. In that instant, part of the wave literally reversed in time as if reality itself pressed rewind. We're kind of like doing that right now. This is no science fiction plot. It's a confirmation of a theory predicted over 60 years ago. What is a time mirror? Just a normal mirror flips your image in space. A time mirror flips a wave in time. Time is linear here. I don't believe in time in a bigger aspect. I think it's all simultaneously happening and occurring. Just my thinking. Um, the back of the signal comes out first and the front comes out last. It's like hitting undo on reality's timeline. Why this matters? Because this goes back to the Cern bullshit that I read earlier. It's not bullshit, but the failsafe. We're going back because we entered another parallel dimensional space and now we're being filtered back through. Why this matters? The possibilities are staggering. Ultra secure, non-gen communication with precise control of signals. Radar and imaging systems that can cut through noise and clutter. Brand new computing architectures that process information in time domain. But the deeper meaning is even more profound. For the first time in human history, we're not just observed time's arrow, we've touched it. We can't jump back centuries or relive our lives, but we've bent the rules of how waves move through time itself. The universe has always seemed to give us one direction forward. Now science has found a way to flip it, at least for a moment. Do you think this could one day change how we experience time itself, not just waves? But we're really doing this regardless of a mirror or not, or some meta constructed thing. We're doing this anyway. We hit a parallel safe zone. We went from implosion to a parallel reality where we are going back to the 0 point to go into the organic timeline where we were meant to be in the beginning of 2012. But because I'm going to play fun, I'm going to play God, and we're going to discover God or whatever that concept is that they're trying to achieve, you messed us up and you distorted time space in linearity. F you. Mandela effects are just a portion of the population that was in one parallel that merged with another. And your cornucopia on your Fruit of the Loom, the monocle on the Monopoly guy, and some other stuff that you once remembered that no one else does in your other paradigm, we're time traveling. And we've been doing this forever. But we're doing this on a grander cosmic scale. We are cycling back in that mirrored sense to the 0 point where we're going to shift onto the organic timeline, the one that we were always meant to play out. That doesn't mean you're not going to have struggle. That doesn't mean everything is going to be fucking roses and beautiful unicorns zipping through the air. That just means that what reality we were supposed to be playing will now start playing when we hit that 0 point and come into cohesion with it. Mind-boggling, but let me know what you guys think. I like to theorize stuff. I like to postulate stuff. I like this stuff because it makes your brain grow. It makes you think bigger and better. Um, and of course, only take the information if it hits here. That's all that matters. If it didn't hit here, that's okay. If you think I'm batshit crazy and from another universe, that's cool too. I am. I'm not from here. I'm volunteered to come here to help. FML. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I haven't done one in a long time, but I just got all these really profound, thought expanding, thought thinking articles that I could not hold myself in anymore and any longer to not share. So I hope you guys enjoyed this quantum AI and metaphysical ponderings, because we're just thinking about these things. Whether they're real or not, it's up to you to decide. For me, a lot of it is. And I think there's a lot more to these things that are more intricate and interlaced than we think. You just have to make it make sense. And right now, we are not quite there yet, but we will. Sending each and every one of you love, light, compassion, grace, shielding, and protective energy. Please go within, be the shoulders, be the lighthouse, seed your truths, light that path forward. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please. And I will be live on Friday. Join me live. Talk to me. There's a huge chat with beautiful souls that are not really judgmental and that are very healing and willing to hear you out. So don't be bashful. Come and hang out. I just talk and rant all day. And if you're interested in Allison.com, I have a link in my description. This helps. It's free stuff. Can't say no to free. And I'm sure eventually when I get some of this under my belt, I'm going to go for more because you never stop learning unless you're physically dead. And then you transmute and transcend and become a light ball. But guys, until then, I hope to see you guys on Friday. Thank you so much for watching. My gratitude to each and every one of you. I hope you're having a blessed and beautiful day wherever you are in the world. And bye for now.